Let's now join John Mayer, former BBC producer. Very good morning to you, John.
Hello, David.
This is a very difficult story now. We've spoken about it. I've spoken about it for 4 days on the trot. Claims, counterclaims. I think it's fair to say it's very complicated. It's very murky. There are lots of allegations flying around. There are presenters who are furious about what is going on, and they are saying it isn't me. Meanwhile, social media is abuzz with all sorts of things, people not really understanding what they're doing, I think, in many ways, by putting things down in an electronic medium and pointing the finger. Also, BBC staff themselves in a state of utter disbelief at the way the BBC has handled that. And I just wonder what your thoughts are. The BBC, once again, seems incapable of actually coming down and making decisions and actually investigating very serious incidents.
David, look, this is a bloody mess. It's a question of who you believe. I mean, if the Sun has evidence, why do they not produce it? There's a very simple solution. Produce this young man's bank statements and see what's paid into it. But let's have a little history lesson, shall we? Let me take you back 15 years to 2008. A young girl called Shannon Matthews. She was allegedly kidnapped, but she was actually not kidnapped. She was hidden by a relative. And there was a massive police search. 10% of the West Yorkshire police were looking for her. And then she was found 28 days later in a relative's divan. And the mother was looking for the reward. The son then was offering £50,000 reward. And that was what the mother was after. She was put away for 8 years for that. So remember the lessons from history. So the Sun has lots of questions to answer on this, but the BBC also has some serious questions to answer. Why did they take so long to investigate? Did they talk to the father? Have they tried to talk to the young man? If there's no substance to the story, which who knows if there is or not, why do they not close it down early and say, look, we've investigated it, there's no truth to it? It took 4 days to suspend the presenter. Actually, this is now day 6 of this round, not day 4, day 6. It started last Thursday or Friday. And by and large, the BBC's chased the story rather than dominated it. You know, the BBC News, I have to say, have done brilliantly. Network News, they've pursued the story. They've done it without fear or favour, and they've done it very well. BBC management have not been very good.
I think you're right. I mean, I think to use your quote at the beginning, it is a complete and utter mess. And you're right, the BBC has continually chased the story rather than owning it. They haven't owned the narrative at all. And I just wonder, in terms I spoke to Lord Vasey earlier, and he talked about trust being integral into the BBC's ethos, and I agree totally with that. It is, whether people like it or not, a national institution, and it does involve trust, because people pay for it, we pay for it, and therefore, and I've got many messages like Chris here in Horsham saying I don't trust the BBC to investigate themselves, the same I don't trust the police to investigate themselves too. I mean, surely, just with the benefit of hindsight, if you have an allegation of this seriousness, surely the BBC should have suspended this presenter X, done a thorough investigation, as you said, as rapidly as possible, and come to a conclusion, end of story.
The BBC should have been much more transparent from the beginning. Absolutely. Tim Davie has either been receiving bad advice or getting good advice and ignoring it. His crisis management on this, as on previous crises, has not been as good as it should have been. So the BBC has a responsibility to be transparent, but so does the Sun. Where's their evidence? You know, we've yet seen not one shred of evidence. We've seen lots of parents alleging, lots of step-parents alleging, but no evidence. Where are the bank statements?
And it's interesting, I've spoken a great deal about social media, and it's really important we stick to the facts and not speculate, because we don't know the whole truth at all. But obviously many people taking to social media, and this is the problem, that social media is a publisher, and we've talked a great deal about that this morning, and I'm not sure that people really understand what they're doing when they're speculating and pointing fingers at presenter X and saying it is presenter X and so on and so forth. And I just wonder what we do from here to try and push that message across, but also to sort of rein in social media somehow, because it's acting as judge and jury.
The genie's out the bottle. I've edited a book on social media, so I know about it. Social media is a sewerage. Anybody with a laptop and with a keyboard in front of them can write anything they like. The only way you rein it in is for some couple of people to be prosecuted. I see that Nicky Campbell is threatening to prosecute, to take people to court over things said about him. You know, how do we regulate it? It'd be regulated by the publishers, and the publishers have to do that. Not us, not you. The publishers have to say, look, we're going to monitor things on the way in, and if they're plainly libelous or plainly defamatory, we don't publish them. That's their responsibility. And so, get away from the theory. Let's stick to facts, and hopefully this story will become a bit clearer in the course of the day. Let's see the bank statements.
Absolutely, I understand that, and facts will shine light on what, as I said right at the beginning, is very, very murky indeed. And I do feel sorry for many presenters who are saying it's not me. Jeremy Vine also now retweeting some of the comments that have been made, saying that, this is libelous and so on. Tim Davie today has a scheduled media appearance. Lord Vasey said it's normally very dull. It's the annual report of the BBC. This will not be dull. What can he do to regain control of this narrative?
Tim Davie will have been through all sorts of rehearsals on this. Believe me, he's probably been up all night with people asking questions. What he can do is have an opening statement where he actually comes clean and he says, "This is what we knew. This is what we didn't know. This is what we're doing." Come clean right at the beginning. Oxygen publicity is very good. Transparency is all. The BBC has our money after all. So just tell people what you've done.
John, thank you very much indeed for your time. That's John Mayer, former BBC producer.